On this week's new Kirblog, we're talking about really weird anime. On that, there's no doubt. It's called World War Blue, and I'm telling you, it has a lot of references to video games written by me. Da-da, 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 da-da. There you go. It's good.
I like that. That was good.
Written in the last 5 seconds. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Today is the most important day of your young, incredible lives because today is the day that a little show called Aoi Sekai Chuushin de, a 3-episode masterpiece of a show, comes out on DVD, available from...
And Blu-ray.
And Blu-ray. Please excuse me. Blu-ray.
I get it.
No,
I get it.
no.
Blasting onto a Blu-ray DVD.
Last processing.
Christ in heaven. A little show that called in America World War Blue will be releasing from our friends at Media Blasters Entertainment, anime bringers for all time. I am joined by two guests that were on not too long ago when we were doing Anime April for our Hunter x Hunter one, but they actually worked on the show, and so did I on the English dub of this show. Please reintroduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Matt Shipman, and I play Gear in this show, which is the closest to Sonic the Hedgehog I will ever get in my career.
Hi, I'm Brittany Lauda, and I play Opal in this show. And I directed it.
Yes.
And I cast it. And
what is Opal? Phantasy Star?
no, she's
Fantasy Zone.
No, is it? Is it
Yeah,
Fantasy Zone?
yeah. She's Opa. The little
Opa,
cute flying spaceship girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew the name of the character, I just wasn't sure.
Then
what
that
it
is the closest you will ever get to playing the human embodiment of Phantasy Star Online.
No, that's Nell, you fuel. That's Kate. That's Kate's girl.
Fantasy
Yeah.
Star.
Yeah. Nell is the Phantasy Star character. And I'm Chris Niosi. You would probably fucking know that if you're subscribed to this channel. And I voiced Zelik, who is the unabashed Legend of Zelda tribute character. Tribute has giant quotation marks on it. And I also had the esteemed pleasure of getting to write the English adaptation of this English dub of the show. So I want to start off by talking about this series, kind of how we discovered it. Had you guys heard of this show before it was on the table that Media Blasters was going to get it, or is this kind of your first knowing of its existence at all?
I had heard of it.
Okay. Had you seen it at all? Did you know anything further about it?
I had seen, because I want to say the episodes came out like months apart from each other in Japanese. I can't remember, but I think I saw the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I liked the premise a lot. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. You know, it made me think of like Hetalia, for example, where they take something and turn it into a person. And it's like, oh, this will be funny. It'll be a bunch of like silly stereotypes about this thing. And in this case, it's video games. So.
Right. For me, I actually am the reason why we licensed it.
Oh.
So, John from Media Blasters, he's the CEO. He was like, we need to find some hidden gems. Like, find me some older shows, preferably smaller, whether it's shorts or it's like an OVA or something. Find me something out there that we could maybe like make that's unique or something like that. And so like I just did a Google search, and I had this huge document of like shows that were unlicensed at the time that were either shorts or OVA series that I gave to him, and we followed a few of those leads. And World War Blue was actually the first one that they were like, yes, we would love it if you made a dub of this. You can certainly license our title. But that was back in like 2014, 2015. And it actually took quite a while for the licensing deal to end. So like I knew only a little bit about it because like I looked it up. So when John came to me, he was like, hey, we got that show you recommended. I was like, what was that one again? But,
what did he say, the Japanese name or something?
Yeah, he's like, we got that show about world wars and video games.
We got Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, that's the one.
which one was that? and then I was like, oh, it's that one.
So for me, I if I'm remembering correctly, I think that the first time I heard about this series was actually when it was before it was officially being made into an anime. Because of course, for those of you who don't know, it is actually based on a collaborative webcomic that I think is still running to this day. I think.
I want to say that too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've tried navigating through its official website, which is mildly difficult because it's all in Japanese. It is also I mean, I guess to properly plug, because it is available legally through, I think, 7 Seas Entertainment, and I will say that I own the first 2 volumes of the manga, which make up, believe it or not, all 3 of those first episodes of the show in book form. But I remember hearing about it, and I was like, oh wow, like that sounds like a really cool idea. I'm kind of interested in this. And then I had heard about that the anime was going to be happening, and out of curiosity, I admittedly I took a look at it. But weirdly enough, and this is gonna come into play. Well, maybe we could even just talk about this. Like we might as well, because it's kind of relevant into the pre-production part of it. So a friend of mine, Luke Rizik, he goes by Cyberlink420. He's been on Kirblog before. I don't know if you guys have ever met him at a con or anything.
Hashtag 420.
Every joke ever. He's a big guy in the Sonic community, and he was involved with a lot of folks that would do like abridged parodies and things like that. And he and a couple of his friends were like, hey, you know what? This would make a really, really funny one-shot. Because at the time they thought, I don't think anybody's going to license or dub this. So just, for shits, they were like, let's do one. And then Luke reached out to me and he said, hey, so there's this character who is a parody of Zelda. He's only going to be in like one scene. Do you want to voice him? And he talks. He's not silent or anything. And he's kind of crazy. Why don't you do something kind of like the Zelda animated series Link character? And I'm like, sure, that's fine, because at the time I was like, yeah, I don't mind doing like little parts and like abridged things or whatever. And I'm like, sure.
Right, because this is like 2010.
Yeah, this was. I'm actually trying to remember exactly what year it was that I did this.
I'm pretty sure it came out. The first episode of this came out in like 2010 or something.
I think that I did the thing for it in like 2011 or 12 or something, because I remember that I think they showed the video of it at like a really tiny little convention. Oh, it was at like Almacon, I think, in
First
Michigan.
episode came out in 2012.
Okay,
October,
yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah, and then I was like, okay, that was fun. Haha, whatever, making jokes and references to Zelda things and etc. Mm-hmm. So flash forward to I guess probably last year. I think I don't remember exactly when we were. Were we talking about it in 2015?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, well then I guess do you want to take over for the story from here on out?
So I mean I talked a little bit about it, but like so in 2015 like we started to acquire the process of acquiring the rights for World War Blue, and at that point we didn't know how long it was going to take. And the people behind this, I'm pretty sure they're a pretty small team. And the creator of the series is, I think, intimately involved in it, from what I understand. So it did take a while for like all the contracts to go through, all the materials to get there, but we didn't know that was going to happen. So I was prepping thinking that World War Blue was going to be my next show before Judah and before Rio. Like right after Ladies vs. Butlers, we were like, all right, we're moving on to World War Blue. So at that time, I was already preparing for that to be the show. So we were figuring out what we wanted to do with it, who would write it, who would voice act in it. I held some closed auditions for some characters, and that's when we decided that Matt was going to voice Gear, and you were going to voice Zelik.
Which I have to cut in and say, because if I'm remembering right, when we first talked about the prospect of doing the show, first of all, I fully admit, and if Jesse and Mike, if you guys ever hear this, I apologize. But I think that the possibility of Jesse Nowak and Mike Hecht of Elite 3 fame were up for the possibility of writing it, and I begged and pleaded Brittany for myself to write it because I already knew what it was, and I wanted to work particular types of magic on it. So I fully admit that I stole that, and I'm sorry, Jesse and Mike, if you ever hear this.
I did talk to them a little bit about it too, and my hesitancy with that was that we had to be really careful that that it wasn't an abridged series, it wasn't a parody, and the scripts themselves, even now, like, they skirt that line very dangerously. And that's something that I came to you and I was like, if you write this, like, it cannot be full-blown parody. Like,
right.
I know you want to make it funny, and you want to throw those references in, but we still have to stay honest to the material and take it seriously.
Right.
So when it was up in the air, like, who was going to write it, that was kind of where you gained leverage over them. You had a little bit more experience working in ADR, whereas Jesse and Mike were not quite as experienced with that. And although they make really funny content, it was just too dangerous to give to them.
Right. And I mean, like, I think that was, like, a conversation of, like, do we go full on, like, I guess, like, Shin-chan kind of thing, which, but also I think it's perfectly acceptable of, like, well, you know, we got to stay true to the story. So which I will get to the writing process in a second, but before that, I wanted to say that and it was not as black and white as, like, can I be the link guy? I believe that you did suggest first and foremost, because you wanted me to be somebody in the show, but I think that you guys did put forward Zelik first and foremost. To which I was like, oh, I need to do that because that's so,
because of your history.
Yeah, and so I can't think of any other case where I think that's ever been a thing before. So I'm happy to be a fucking Trivial Pursuit question for that particular reason.
But there's a few other people who were precast, and then after 2 years went by, they were no longer able to fill those roles, or they got moved around because of like time or just like scheduling conflicts, etc. And I'm not going to actually put those names out there because it's kind of unprofessional, but so it went through a lot of different things in development, and like when it came down to it, like when it actually was like, all right, this went through and we're doing this, we are doing World War Blue, like I was at the time like traveling a lot, and it was right before I moved out of my apartment in Queens, and right before the holidays, and I was like, all right, you have like this little time to get this much done.
Which is that, by the way, just considering what you guys are doing for a living now, in a way it was kind of pretty decent training for the broadcast dub life at Funimation.
Right.
So I guess it kind of worked out beautifully in that way in terms
just
of preparing
3 times
you.
the length.
Yeah. It was because instead of like, you know, with the broadcast dubs, you usually get a week to work on one episode, and I had like basically the amount of time, like a week added up between like holidays and stuff to get this done, and it was 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out of town for a week in the middle of it.
Yeah.
To come here to record for Gossip.
So
right.
you were out of town.
I recorded like an episode of World War Blue, then came here and recorded like 10 of Gossip, and then came home and finished
World War Blue.
Yeah. And I'm trying to even remember when I started writing, because I think that might have also been right when I started working on the prototype for the Tome game, which that would have been around like January of this year. So yeah, it was pretty. I mean, like it's no secret, because I mean, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, often this has to be how anime production is, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was tight turnarounds. And like on the plus side, because we did like start the process of getting things together 2 years ago, you did have like a rough draft of episode 1. But like, you know, 2 years is a long time. So that had to get cleaned up, and like we had to get all the casting decisions made and get everyone scheduled. At one point, like, I just scheduling wise, like, I think like something ran over, and I was like, I have 6 hours of Opal recording to do, and like 2 hours to do it. And the engineer and I were just like, all right, here we go. Like, Brittany has to catch the train and go back to Long Island, and there's only like one train left.
Yeah.
Get going.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I mean, also just to.
And I did it. Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
And to address this elephant in the room, because I don't know how many anime fans necessarily feel about this when, like, you know, the staff behind a show are also like central, in this case, like the main characters, because Opal and Gear are pretty much it when it comes to the leads. But also, I think that, you know, sometimes when you're in situations like this, and it's just out of the convenience of, okay, we are good enough performers to be playing these characters, we're decent enough casting decisions for them, and also we need to get this shit done, like, immediately. Like,
yeah, this needs to be done yesterday, so I'm gonna go in there right now and do it. I mean,
well, but like when I did cast Matt as Gear, again, that was 2015, so it was before he was as intimately involved with things. That was before he even started writing Juden.
Yeah.
So, like, and that was before we made our company. So that was an earlier decision. And like I said, there were things that had to get moved around in the casting process, like actors changed and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, to be honest, when I originally went into it, like, I wasn't going to play Opal. But, you know, plans change.
Yeah.
And I was playing Opal now.
Yes.
And I mean, like, in a way, like, I don't know how we would have gotten it done if I didn't play Opal, considering there was that 6 hours of recording that I had to slam into 2 hours.
Yeah, and you can't just, like, schedule an actor for that and expect them to get it done.
Right.
Like maybe you could if you knew the actor for years and they'd worked at that studio for years and you knew, like, it was just going to be an easy thing.
Right.
Yeah, but, like, that's still a huge... Like, 1/3 of the time it should take. That's pretty crazy.
And, like, there's all other things that could go wrong, too. Like, there could have been, like, bad weather or that disrupted train service.
Right. That, like, the actor couldn't get in time.
One time when we were doing Ladies versus Butlers, the engineer was out for a week because of jury duty.
Oh,
like,
God. Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. And, like, people could get sick, or, like, there could be technical malfunctions or what have you. So
have to get pickups, and it's like, well, that actor came in the one time they were available.
And I did have to do a pickup at one point for this show that I recorded way after the fact. But yeah, so I don't know what would happen if I didn't play Opal. So it worked out.
But it's okay. You took one for the team also, because it was thanks to you that we got all the boob jiggling and you know, moans and all that.
Yeah, that's
all that great stuff.
That's the other thing. Some actors are maybe not comfortable playing a character like that.
And, like, she was just pretty, to be honest, like, I knew what I was doing with her, and I knew the show pretty well. So, like,
being familiar with the material,
What?
I said being familiar with the material already, I'm sure certainly helped.
Yeah, because I could just basically be like, all right, I'm not going to preview this, because often you preview when you do, before you do a line. I'm not going to preview this, just roll it. I'm going to try and get these 2 pages done, and if I mess up, I'll just take it again wild, and we'll just put it into place after.
Right.
And like, that's what we did, which is usually not how I would have recorded an actor.
This is dubbing around the clock style.
Yeah. And, like,
and we have experience
honest,
doing that in other situations, but it's like, if we had the time.
Sure.
Yeah. In New York, there's a lot of studios where you don't get to see a preview, and because I'm kind of used to it, even now at Funimation, like, they preview and I'm already performing it, and they're like, well, I guess we can keep Brittany's takes.
We happen to record that.
We happen to record it. We might as well keep these 3 pages of Brittany doing it. I guess we're moving on.
Well, on the opposite end of things, in terms of having time, you mentioned my advantage of I was already semi-familiar with the material from having seen it a long time ago. I knew what all the characters were supposed to be in specific reference to.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Actually, there was some characters that you caught that from looking like by referencing the manga and then
yes, that's
cross-referencing
right.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, there's characters you caught that the Crunchyroll subtitles did not.
Yeah, I think
is that what we had to go off of?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I remember, so in a little bit of a spoiler into the story itself, but in the second episode, actually, hold on. First of all, let's talk about this too, because we haven't even talked about the actual premise of the show. For those of you who have no idea what the fuck we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, if you've made it this far. Okay, World War Blue is a show. So I mentioned it's based on a webcomic by these I think it's a writer artist combo. Pardon me. Who it's basically the console wars of the 90s with anthropomorphized game franchises. It's not quite Mega Dimension Neptunia, which Casey Mangelo was recently asking, is it like that? It's not consoles. The way it works is that there's a continent called Consum where all these characters live, and there's many different countries that are all basically they're semi-named after like Segwa and Nintendo and that kind of thing.
Semi-named after.
Yeah, semi-named after pre-existing video game companies and publishers. And the characters that live in them are all based on different game franchises. Particularly the characters who have like these kind of superpowers who are called killers. They're all kind of in reference to like, what was their power based on like whatever this kind of game was. So for instance, our main characters who are meant to be kind of in tribute to early Sega franchises, we have Gear, who is the Sonic the Hedgehog equivalent. Who has an action sort of like super speed power boost kind of attack, and Nell, who's Phantasy Star Online, and then of course the cleverness of like this character Tejilov, who is a mercenary, and he's based on Tetris. Of course, Tetris was on all major consoles and was not loyal to one particular publisher or anything, so that makes sense for him to be a mercenary. Stuff like that. And then, of course, you have, like, the Nintendo Empire, where there's Marcus, who has a red armor and a mustache and rides a dinosaur, etc., etc. You get it.
Luigi, his green brother.
So, a lot of stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so when I was not even before I was officially tasked with doing the writing, 100%, but even just for shits, I wanted to try, because I was also kind of interested in doing some ADR writing. I'd never really done it before. So I thought, okay, let me take a look at the first episode again. It's been years. So what I tried to do was, because also from my research, in the manga, there's actually interviews with, I think it's the two creators and like another friend of theirs, where they actually talk about the history of the gaming world in the 80s and 90s and kind of how a lot of things progressed with these different companies. So knowing that, I'm like, okay, like this was made with the intention of being a love letter to video game history as a whole. And there's a lot of specific things like that happen in, like the little bit that they got to get animated in the show, and of course later in the manga, that are references to like how things went with these different companies and the consoles that were out at the time. Apparently later on, I've been told there's like a Sony empire that comes in or something like that, I guess. And I'm like, okay. So what I decided to do, once we had like come to the conclusion of, okay, we're not going like full on Shin-chan Ghost Stories kind of, really rewriting the entire story. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. In adhering to the original story. But what I tried to do was, in virtually every piece of dialogue, as much as humanly possible, I had some kind of little like wink wink, or sometimes not so wink wink, very unabashed reference to a video game thing of some kind. And the specifics of which we'll get to later. But that was kind of the approach that we took when it came to a lot of the writing choices, a lot of the not even just the acting choices, but also the voice choices as well, which I'm sure, Matt, I don't know if there was a particular era that you were going after, but certainly I think very Sonic-like in your performance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of that comes from just your script, too, because it's like, if I have to say, let's do it to it, or something like that, like it's just a very Sonic thing, my brain immediately jumps to, how would like the more traditional Sonic actors do this.
Yeah.
And that said, like a lot of when it came down to casting, directing, and localizing the names too, because we spent quite a little bit figuring out like how we were going to have these names pronounced or spelled. But a lot of the choices came to making it kind of that like, and I don't want to say it was a parody, but like it was very it was very dangerously cheesy in its seasoning.
Yeah, of course.
Cheetos joke.
Yeah. It was very
10 out of 10.
Like everything was kind of like melodramatic. Like we took it seriously to the point where it was like kind of funny.
Yeah.
And the characters all had certain traits to them. Like Tejiloff, like Youngie Waichang, he was like very pointed in all of his deliveries. And like everything was very precise and sometimes to the point where it was kind of jagged because he's this puzzle piece man. And then you have like we gave Marcus Mike Pollock the Italian accent because Mario and Luigi had the Italian accent too. So there's all these little silly things in it. We had Boys and Buys played by the same actor because they're supposed to be Bob and Bob. They're the twins. There's all sorts of silly things hidden in that. And then when it came to the naming of characters, some of the things were romanized to be just not quite right in conveying the
reference
or
the tribute
that
the name was trying to make.
I will out myself here. There were things that I did take liberties on when it came to the pre-established both kind of by the fandom and then later even the official translations with certain ones. For instance, Lumpsis, which was for the longest time I was seeing always as Ramses, which I looked at that and then I'm like, what is this in reference to? And then again, reading the manga, I was like, oh, okay, they're meant to be in reference to columns. And I'm like, well, how does that equate? So then I looked at, okay, what are the katakana symbols of Ramuses? And I'm like, Ramusesu. And I'm like, oh, hold on. And then I looked at columns, looked at the katakana, it's Koramusesu. I'm like, I get. So that's why we went with Lumpsis, because it's meant to look like the word columns. For instance, and then also other ones like the character in the scene in the first episode, Teal, which I was seeing labeled as just like tell or like tail. Yeah, till. So I thought, well, so they say it as Tieru. So I thought, okay, well, here's something. How about Teal? Because it keeps in line with, clearly he's meant to be in tribute to Tails. Also by Mark that he's Sonic's, Gears' friend, and has the orange hair and everything, and he's young. And I thought, okay, and also teal is a shade of blue, in reference to the Sonic, Sega blue logo and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, so a little extra something to that there, just stuff like that. But it was all meant to be what I thought, like, in service to at least what I perceived as I think what the creators were trying to intend with what they were going with. So it was not just like willy-nilly, like, I'm going to call this character whatever. Like, it was all with like some kind of thought behind it.
It was trying to adapt the names so they conveyed what they did to the Japanese audience to the English audience.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
We spent a lot of time trying to figure out Zelik's name.
Yes. What did I have before?
I don't even remember. But
it was like Zelige. Oh yeah, it was like Zelige. So it was some really like way too many letters.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and the Romanized thing is Zerige.
Yeah,
so Zerige.
Yeah, so I tried something that was like, I fully admit in retrospect it was way too like overly complicated than it needed to be, and I think we settled on, we went back and forth a lot on like what it would be, and I think that Brittany Zelik with a K was your idea.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember this conversation we had actually, because I'm looking at the same thing we looked at when we talked about it.
Yeah.
The Wikipedia page, and I'm not like who cares? Wikipedia can be edited by anyone. But it has Zelig, so Z-L-I-G is what they wrote, and then in parentheses they have the katakana, and then they have the romanized version of the katakana, which they romanized as Zerige, even though they wrote in katakana Zerigu.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Which is which is closer to Zelig. And then we're like, okay, but is that supposed to be like Link, like Zelda Link, Zeddy?
So since the K and G noises and the symbols are the same, just with the little scratch marks at the top, I thought, a K sound works equally well. It sounds like the K and Link, Zelig. It's like Zelda and Link's names kind of crossed together because he represents the Zelda franchise as a whole.
Exactly, and then also he always has his tongue out, so like the lick part.
And of course also in terms of the references, it's no secret to anyone that I was absolutely doing Jonathan Potts' animated series version of Link's voice, which, if you're gonna have a talking Link-esque character who's kind of sassy, sort of jerky personality, I'm like, what the hell else am I supposed to do, guys?
Forgive me, guys, but because it's been a while, what did we go with for Tegilov? Was that an F at the end or a V at the end?
I think we went with Tegilov with an F.
We went the F, right? Because that was what I thought was probably the most interesting one. And I want to say, Brittany, you told me that this is something that Chris, you said, that like not all of the letters, but most of the letters in the name were supposed to be kind of like Tetris pieces.
Yes, because
so like the T is the T block, and the L is the L block, and the F is closer to anything than a V would be in Tetris.
Exactly.
So I was like, that's a really good reason.
Yeah. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, because that was another thing where it's like, because especially when it comes to the R and L, I mean, most anime fans I think know this, that like it's in fact, by the way, a little funny total side note, but just this is really happened. I remember when Lucario was first revealed in Japan, like Cerebi.net would always like break the news about like Korokoro scans. I saw that he was going to be one of the new characters, and I think the 8th movie at the time. This was like years and years ago. He was one of the first Diamond and Pearl Pokemon shown off, and of course, as off of the kana, everybody was calling him Lucario, but I swear to God, I preemptively was calling him Lucario because I was like, one, that flows off the tongue better, and two, I feel like that's what they're going to call him. And lo and behold, that is exactly what they called him. So I felt mildly proud of myself.
I like that in that story you mentioned Cerebi, which in itself is just
that's right,
Celebi, but with that same problem.
Which I think most people got wind of. I think that name just stuck because at the time that was what like everybody. It's so weird that stuck around for like 20 fucking years almost. It's bizarre. Anyway, sorry, enough about Pokemon. Sadly,
there was another one in the same vein. We argued a little bit back and forth between Ninteldo and Ninturdo.
Oh, okay. Let me explain that one. Let me explain. Also, I was gonna joke a second ago. I'm sad that we never got to have the Pikachu boy, who I believe is one of the 6 Ninteldo generals. We never got that far. Yeah. So my perception, I was thinking about, was like Ninteldo. I was like, that's weird. So the reason that I originally suggested Ninturdo with an R was not to make it sound like it had the word turd in it, but because so the lowercase r, if put in like the word Ninturdo, if you write it out, I was like, oh, it looks like the N in the 10 part of Nintendo, like the second, the kind of like right half of the lowercase n is being scratched out, and it makes it look like an R. So maybe that's what the intention is supposed to be, is it's Ninturdo, like the actual English letters you would write out for that word. So I wrote that in at first, but I think that was it really just because it just sounds like the word turd?
It's just harder to say. It sounds less nice. The R sound and the D sound are a little more harsher, and they create more of a like less of a flow.
Yeah. Kind of like what you just said about Lucario, where like 2 R's, something about that feels weird, but starting with an L feels a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. And then you were like, "Come on, Brittany, turds and Nintendo."
Yeah. Well, no, that wasn't the thing I complained about the most, though. Do we want to blow the lid off the other one?
I don't even remember what it is.
Well, okay, so one of the other, we were talking about Tegelov's name. part of the other reason why I fought for Tejalov instead of Tejarov, which is how a lot of people were romanizing his name. One, because of the L being the long block in a Tetris piece, which he constantly is making dick jokes about, and no, I'm not kidding. In the show, he makes dick jokes. Is also because, as I'd read from the manga, he was intended to be a Russian character, and Tejalov sounds more like a Russian word to me than Tejarov. Since we were going with an Italian accent for Marcus and Luigi, I really wanted Tejalov to have a Russian accent, and I wrote the entire first episode's first pass with him having a Russian accent.
And I did not want to do that.
Which, and, you know, honestly, as much as I wish we could have done that, with the response to other shows that non Saturday morning anime shows, like I don't want to kick 4Kids while they're down, because props to them for everything, but with other shows that have tried to have accents, like with good intention, I swear to God, but knowing
hate it.
It's just so hard to get it right.
I feel like
sucks.
the only time people like it is when it's Jerry Jewell doing the Russian accent, and I wasn't about to be like, Jerry, I know you're playing Victor, and that's taking up a lot of your time, but please play this Russian Tetris man for me.
So that was recorded before Yuri on Ice, right?
Yuri on Ice was recording at the same time as this.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Right around the same time, believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, and interestingly, even like JoJo, which is airing now, and I don't actually... I have no insider info, everybody. This is all just speculation. I don't know if they decided to not use the accents for part 3 onward because of people complaining about the accents in part 2. I haven't seen the show still, which I'm sure Kira will be angry at me about forever and always. I was sad that they did take them out, only because I was like, oh man, JoJo's such a perfect show where that could work.
Weren't the first 3 episodes of Stardust Crusaders recorded before the rest of the show?
Yes, and they did ultimately go with a lot of those same... in fact, actually, it's funnily enough, Kira Buckland, who, by the way, is in our show as the Kirby character, who has one line, which has 2 Kirby references stuck into it at once, because I'm a fucking genius. Jesus. Her Walla that she recorded years ago in the test episodes actually remained in the episodes that just recently aired. Nice. So great for her, 'cause she got to be in JoJo. Anyway. Nonetheless, so but I at the very least, the victory for me was that Marcus and Luigi got their accents kept.
And we did it in non-accent and the accent. Because I just sprung it on Mike right there. I was like, can you do an Italian accent?
I also do love the irony of Dr. Eggman voicing the Mario and Luigi character.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great. Pretty great.
Also,
and
actually...
go
ahead.
Sorry,
no, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say that I feel like from an audience perspective, they would understand more why the Mario and Luigi characters have Italian accents more than the Tetris guy having a Russian accent.
Right.
Someone might not necessarily understand that, and I feel like that might create more backlash than it's worth. Whereas, of course, everyone's going to be like, that's Mario, I get it. He's got the accent.
Yeah.
And there's tons of funny, silly things in the show already. I don't know if it needed the Russian accent.
Actually, there was one thing in particular, in terms of me not goofing around and taking the piss out of it and doing all the references and things. There was one particular thing, and actually I just messaged her the other day to thank her for taking the time to do this. I want to give a particular, everybody on the show, I think, also considering the fucking time restraints, did a really good job. In particular, I really want to give a major shout out to one of our little special guest cameos, Erica Schroeder. Which do you want to tell that story, Brittany?
I mean, Erica is wonderful, and I've wanted to work with her for a really long time. And this was going to be one of my last projects that I was doing in New York that I knew about, and I was really wanted to get her in on it. And it was so close to not happening. But we ended up working it out, and she plays Gear's mom, Stella, and she just gave this beautiful performance. I mean, it had a few references in it, but it was one of the more I would say, like, heartwarming moments of the show.
Yeah, and in fact, actually,
it's not the only heartwarming.
No, honest to God,
show.
I really do mean that. I forget if I told you guys this, but I really do mean this. The scene, there's 2 scenes with her. She's actually a very small character, and I don't want to spoil everything with her. But I'll say the first scene with her actually makes me kind of tear up. Like legit. It's actually very, very, like, very heartwarming. And the second scene with her makes me smile a lot because for those of you who don't know, of course, you know, we didn't exactly have, like, you know, the entire like New York cast of Sonic in the show or whatever, but we had a couple references in there. And of course, Erica Schroeder was previously the voice of Blaze the Cat when Sonic was being done in New York for a few years. And there was a direct Blaze the Cat quote that I put in one of Stella's scenes that Erica performed, and it made, and it's a line that I genuinely really like about Blaze the Cat, and I like Erica's performance on that character and on the character in this show, and I was very happy that because I guess if this is okay to say, she actually recorded her character from home.
Yeah, so she has her and her husband have, like, a nice setup, and because it was just, like, she lives a little further away, and she usually only comes in, like, once or twice a week to New York City to record. Mm-hmm. It was a little difficult to try and coordinate something because it was like, oh, well, like, it's like have these other commitments, and, like, I want to do it, but it's, like, such a small role, and, like, so we ended up working it out, and I had to dub the part and then send her the scratch track for her to match, and she recorded it from her own professional space.
That way it would match picture.
That way it would match picture. And even still, like, it was a little rough. Like, we had to really finagle it to try and get it to match picture, even after, because, like, you know, it's never the best solution.
Yeah, it's
like,
never a perfect solution to do that.
Yeah, obviously the best solution is to match it to picture, but I really wanted her to play this character, and I really wanted to work with her. I really wanted to make it work.
And she really did do a good job.
And she really did do a good job. And I think that you can kind of look past some of the flaps being less perfected than other flaps in the show because the performance carries. And she was really happy to play this character because she's a mom, and being a mom is very important to her.
Yeah.
And when she gave me her line, she's like, "Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to bring my mama out." Like, I love being a mom.
She got to be my mom.
She got and she also liked, she recognized the line, and she was like, "I caught it."
I messaged her a little while ago, I think a few days ago before recording this, that saying, "Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I wrote that line specifically because I wanted you to voice this character." And she's like, "I recognized it immediately. That was very sweet of you, and I was happy to do it." So Erica, you'll probably never hear this, but if you do, thank you very much for doing that. It was super cool of you.
Yeah. And I had previously cast Erica in something that I was supposed to work on, and then it just got put into, like, production hell, basically.
Yeah.
So it was really great to actually get to work with her finally, and I hope I get to work with her again in the future. She's so talented. I mean, the entire cast of World War Blue are all very talented people. A lot of people that I've been wanting to get in, and I just hadn't, like Jake Pake and Mike Licio. Like, I wanted to work with them, and I finally had a place that I could be like, okay.
Yeah.
I can put these guys here.
Billy Thompson, who's
I love
hilarious.
Billy.
Oh my God.
Billy is so fun to work with.
D. Fisher, and it's not just because he is on the current Yu-Gi-Oh series as, like, a billion characters. Excuse me, Morty. But also because like, just D. Fisher, who is the I can't remember what game he's in reference to, that character, but one of the villains in the third episode. He is just like a bit part villain character straight out of a Yu-Gi-Oh episode with the way Billy played him.
Yeah, he was really fun to work with on that, and I had Jake. I think I had Jake first, I want to say, or maybe second. I don't know, but I had him and Billy back to back, and so that was funny because they're always. They ham around.
They saw each other as
they saw each other. And then of course, like, Mike Pollock always has his, like, nice, like, cup holder that he gave us at the studio, a cup holder.
That's right. Yeah. That we had. There's one at MYAV Post, the LA studio over here, which
one in 4K.
Yeah, he gets them for everybody. That's so sweet.
There's one in 2K. Yeah, so he gave us one of these cup holders, and Billy and Jake always mess around with him, and they put garbage in the cup holder instead of putting their drinks. And of course, they see the cup holder, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta mess with Mike." They put it on the ground, tipped over, and they threw their trash in it. And they're like, "Wow, thanks, Mike, for giving us this trash bin in the Media Blaster studio." They like tweeted it, and it was funny. And it's like an ongoing thing, like that tends to happen. Like people put pens in it and stuff, and he always gets so he's like, "No, it's for beverages." So that was funny.
We also I'm thinking as well as about a lot of our cameos that we had with Kira. We had Keith Silverstein. We had Kyle Abear as the narrator because hilarity. DBZ, of course. Which on that note, so I recorded my stuff from Ben's home booth because he actually has like a real whisper room, which is good sound quality. And I was like, "Hey Ben, do you want
half the studios at Funimation are whisper rooms?"
Yeah. And I was like, "Ben, do you want to?" I was like, "There's this character based on Dragon Quest, and he has one line, and also there's a monkey. Do you want to be in the show?" And he's like, "Yeah, why the hell not?" And then he's and then while I was at his place. I was doing my Zelik lines, and also, funny story about this, except it's not funny because it was terrifying.
I remember this. I know what you're going to say.
So in addition to doing Zelik's lines, I had a bunch of, like Walla and I think little bits and things to do, for all 3 episodes. And I didn't realize that I didn't actually have to do every single pass of every... And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Walla is like background voices, like crowd chatter and like soldiers running, that kind of stuff, which will usually be like, anywhere from 5 to 10 or more actors kind of all like mixed together in like in a big group thing. But I did
4 people laid over themselves.
Yeah.
Takes.
So I did a bunch of that stuff, and also I was doing a lot of takes of the stuff with Zelik in the first episode where he's yelling because he's in battle, and I did, and also this is while I was recording Mob Psycho 100. And also probably an OKKO episode of some kind or something during that time. So stupidly of me, I was screaming my lungs out in Ben's booth with no air conditioning or anything because it's just a little whisper room at his place. For this show, for 3 fucking episodes, while I had other jobs to do, which is the most stupid thing you can possibly do as a working actor. Any and all aspiring voiceover people, don't ever fucking do that.
Yeah, and then you
Don't
came back
blow your
and I was
voice out.
like, "Chris, you didn't need to do all of that."
And I'm like, why? Why did I do that?
And the funnier thing too is that you told me like, "I don't know if I'm gonna do all the Walla cues because I got some big sessions coming up."
Yeah.
And I was
totally.
like, "Oh,
That
don't
was
worry
me.
about it. Like, don't blow your voice out." And then you're like, "I
For
didn't know I
some
can't
reason,
talk."
I swear to God, I just got in the fucking booth and I'm just like, I know, you know what? And also, when I was doing the Zelik stuff, I think I also did so many takes because I foresaw the exact problem you brought up with recording any of the out-of-towners of like, it needs to fit the picture. Like the jokes land best when they fit the fucking picture. I have to make sure that I do as many different like lengths as possible, So, and then the best part is that I believe that one of the takes that you guys used was one of the less yelly ones that I did early on, and I'm just like, son of a bitch, what is wrong with me? I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, I went through and I like picked out your takes and I was like, Justin, who's the engineer, was like, "Do whatever you can to make these fit." And he was like, "All right, I'll fuck around with them." And then we went in and we did like a mix review ourselves and we adjusted things a little bit too.
Yeah.
Try and make everything work.
Oh God.
So.
Oh, so funny. Anyway, I guess
that was another hidden reference thing though, going back to Ben being in this, is that we made the monkey, he says I like I.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Super Monkey Ball.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, even though that wasn't really in the original, we were like, well, it's a monkey, we have to make it.
Yeah, let's make what's the video game monkey that's not Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
And he's on the Sega side, so it's like, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And so I mean, because I believe that II is just like the Japanese onomatopoeia for like a monkey, like.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so I was just like, Ben, just do that. Just do a bunch of. I was just like, Ben, just do a little library of some monkey sounds and fucking they'll mix them around. And then of course we have the Myomuto, the Dragon Quest character, who apparently only speaks in yes or no answers, like a silent protagonist, which is hysterical. So we had like 8 different versions of just Ben going yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a hoot. Do you guys have anything else about the show worth sharing that would be funny, or any other kind of stuff? Or
there's some really funny bloopers, but we didn't because they were trying to fit it on just one Blu-ray DVD disc. And the licensor gave us so many additional materials. The blooper reel did not make it onto the final disc.
Which sucks.
Which sucks. But it's because there's like actor interviews in Japanese on there. I think the entire OST is on there. There's a picture gallery.
There's like
a
motion comics. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a whole bunch of extras that are like kind of better than our blooper reel, I guess, if you're a fan of the show. So I really want to find a way to use the blooper reel, so I might bring it to cons or something, because it's funny, because there's some really funny bloopers. I can think of like some really funny ones between like Wai Chang and like Jake Peg having like funny interactions and stuff. So I just really was disappointed that I couldn't make it to the final thing, because there's some great bloopers on there.
Yeah, anime bloopers are a joy that I wish would get to be brought back a lot more often than they are these days. But
yeah, a lot of the times the licensor doesn't want to put that on there too, but
which, that's fair enough. But either way, did you guys have any other like funny like moments or like particular things like recording the show that were really that stood out to you or anything?
As someone who's played a lot of Sonic, was really funny working with the script, because there are just so many funny references that like I just remember from Sonic, and it's just like every other line being like that. There's another reference. There's another reference.
Yep. Yeah. There's a copious amount.
With
Sonic Speed.
We had that, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's when they're in the hot tub. Yeah. Matt, how about you?
I mean, kind of that. I was actually about to say that I remember a couple of moments where I'm like, it was like hard for me to actually act the moment, because the line was just like so clearly a reference that I recognized. I'm like, shit, I can't say it the way that it was said.
The entire beginning scene, you gotta go fast, and Matt's like an emotional wreck, like trying to deliver this monologue, and it's like he's saying he's got to go fast, and all these.
I mean
Sonic...
I was thinking like the Sonic X opening. Gotta go fast.
Dude, literally the very first line in the entire show is "gotta go fast."
Gotta go fast.
If that doesn't give you
the mood,
if that gives you any indication, I mean, like in particular, there are copious amounts of Sonic Adventure song lyrics. Every single Nintendo and Sega marketing quote that I could have. Lots of references to the Nintendo cartoon shows from the 90s, Mario Super Show, Zelda, a lot of that stuff. A lot of like a Nintendo Power magazine article type of things. Other little just bits and pieces, like things like less on the nose, like when I forget if it's Boys or Buys, one of the two Bubble Bobble brothers is stuck in the little magical trap thing that Tedjalov makes, and he's like, oh man, I wish I got some cake or something, in reference to the fact that he likes cake, and like the Bubble Bobble little dragon guys like cake and shit, and then like Tedjalov says, now is the beginning of a wonderful adventure or something, which is the opening to Bubble Bobble, stuff like that. Like literally every other line, or sometimes every line in every episode, there's just something like that. I'm not even kidding. You could make a fucking drinking game out of it. In fact, please, if you were of legal drinking age only, please, I implore you to make a drinking game out of it.
But make it like every 10 references if you want to stay alive.
Yeah, if you want to stay alive.
Yeah, I do not condone or endorse or take any responsibility for poisoning that comes with this.
There are some funny adjustments to the script. Like there was, I think at one point, like Tedjalov like gives Gear something. He's in the Japanese. He's like, I made this map. And like I think you adapted it, so it was like, here's a player's guide kind of thing. like games are for having fun.
Yeah.
And it's just it kind of it says the same thing as the Japanese in a way, but puts that twist on it that gives it like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, dangerously cheesy, like.
We keep making the Cheetos branding.
Matt, did you have a favorite? This is totally self-indulgent for me because I'm the one who put all these in here. But
what, a favorite line?
A favorite, yeah, just in general.
Let me think about it for a second.
Because also you were my script supervisor on the show. You oversaw all my stuff.
Yeah. And I had to just take your word for it with a lot of the references, to be honest, because I knew a decent amount of them, but like, I've only played Bubble Bobble a few times.
Right.
Like, so I didn't know, like, that's the sentence that the game starts with.
That was the other
thing.
Like, we had to be pretty careful to make sure that we didn't disassemble any of the references too badly.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a challenge when it came to working with the script, because there'd be times where I was like, it's not fitting flap. It's still not fitting flap, but like, I don't want to delete the reference. I don't want to dishonor the reference. How can we keep the reference in and make it work?
Yeah.
I just thought of what I think was my favorite one. I can't remember exactly how it was, but it was definitely a Sonic line where he goes like, "Ha, yeah, this is happening."
Oh yeah, it's like one of the first lines, like when after the opening,
shows
like,
up.
This place is happening.
Yeah. Which fun fact is, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that is actually the first words out of Sonic's mouth in Sonic Adventure, which is like, that was the first time that he had his established. Well, I mean, he's gone through like 3 or 4 different English ones by this point, but with Junichi Kanemaru, who's been playing him since Sonic Adventure 1 in 1999, that first line where he's like jumping around over the city rooftops before he fights Chaos, he says, "Whoa, wow, this place is happening." And I'm like, well, they just got to the city. What the fuck else is he gonna say? So,
a good one.
My favorites, I'll cheat a little bit. Honestly, I'm even kind of tempted just to like post a clip of this somewhere on Twitter just to like get people interested, to be like, everybody, this is the real dub. Please, you need to see this. It's one of the last scenes in the show where the Nintendo generals are meeting together in a place, and I'll say that there's my character, there's Galigi, there's Carvey, the Kirby girl played by Kira Buckland. There's Fi, who is a Fire Emblem girl based on, or just like the characters in general from that series, and she's played by Amanda Lee. And I think that's the 3 of them that are also there. Yeah, and like every fucking line, boom, 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 reference. I don't even want to spoil that one because there's just so many in a row that I love, both that I got to perform and that the other characters got to do. But I might post like a shaky cam clip of that part just to like seriously show people what this is like.
I like all of the character cameos a lot. Like, I think Keith's character was really well performed. I really like Melly Grant as the Street Fighter girl.
To 5,
she was cool.
Famakuma.
Basically Famakuma. And I really like Sam Black played the Evaser man, who is the God, what alien invader.
Space invaders.
Space invaders.
Yeah, there we go.
It's okay. It's okay, Brittany. You're 12. I know you don't know what that game is.
So like, I mean, all of the cameos, and Ben, Emmy, what am I saying?
Was Cheryl Lee in it as well?
Yeah, she played, what's the girl's name?
Oh, Petri.
Petri.
Yeah.
Petri.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And she was kid.
That was a name that was really hard to find.
Yeah.
Like, figuring out that character's name.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we ended up finding it in the end. I think I, like, found, like, some scans of something.
Yeah.
And what's the reference?
I don't know.
I actually don't remember. It's another Enix game, but I don't don't remember what she's supposed to be in reference to either way. But and also Cheryl was Kid Gear in the flashback.
Yes, she was Kid Gear.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Michaela Laws plays Crystal.
Yes, the Final Fantasy girl. Who apparently later also gets married to Enix guy. and they fuse their nations. Ha ha ha. You get it.
And then Adam Rowe played the big
Oh, Harris, the space hero character.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Nobi. That's right. We didn't mention Nobi,
Right,
the
Nobi.
scout. Yeah, who I think what you guys pointed out to me was a reference to Shinobi, another Sega series. And then I cross-checked that on the manga, and that was his name. And I'm like, oh, well, now we know. There we go.
Yeah. So there was just a lot of people who I got to bring in to do stuff on it, and it was fun.
We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun on the show.
And I didn't even mention Teresa Buchester is
of course, as General Lumsus, yes.
And she's got such a particular sound to her. And I think that it really, Lumsus is very hard to cast. And I think that she really brings something different to the role. And she's got a voice that you don't really hear in anime. So it was really cool to have her play this character. And she's got this kind of a regality to it, but also a very, I'm going to say it's a very particular way of speaking. It's very precise. And I feel like it fits with both being it, columns, you think, regal, very elegant, but also she's supposed to be a military leader and puzzles, so it's all kind of a culmination of all of those things with her performance.
Yeah. Teresa, for those of you who don't know, Teresa is she was previously a voice director for Pokemon for a little while.
And she worked on Winx as the director as well.
Yes, and also I can't remember which one, but she's one of the Team Flare quartet of evil girls that work for work for Lysander.
The one that starts with an A, I forget her name. Aliana or
something like that. Yeah. And you worked with her when you were working on Pokemon for a while.
Yeah, I did, and she's really fun, really cool, and I really wanted to find a place to use her. I think this is a really good character for her.
Oh, and speaking of Pokemon, we also didn't mention Clement, Michael Lashio Jr. as
Michael
General
Lashio.
Alex. Yeah.
He plays General Alex, which was fun. It was my first time working with him. And I think that was a bit of a challenge for him, too, because I feel like he's usually the younger, go-get-em kids. And I'm like, okay, I want you to... He had, a really great audition, and I really wanted him to bring that, fatherly... he's a warrior, he's really hurt in this role, to bring all of that in. And when we were working on it, he was like, yeah, this is really cool to play something that, has a bit more, realism to it. Because it's make all these reacts very small, you're in a lot of pain. And, with Yu-Gi-Oh! And with Pokemon, you're always you work on it.
Yeah. when you're playing a lead in both Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! For 3 or 4 years straight, it's to
four
play,
leads in
Yu-Gi-Oh! to do a serious show of any kind, even one as goofy as this one, that must have been pretty cool. So I'm sure he had a good time. But Mike's a great guy. I really like him
and it was really fun to work with him. So it was cool.
And I was just looking at the Wikipedia page again, and I scrolled up, and I'm like, oh, there's my name next to one of my favorite Seiyu, Nobuhiko Okamoto, and I remember that's who played Gear in Japanese. Because I like him.
Nice.
Oh, and we didn't talk about Nell either. Nell's voice actress is Kate Page.
Oh, she's great.
She's newer. She was one of my students, and she's really great. She's got such a sweet, innocent sound, which I think Nell really needed, and she did a really great job in her first anime performance. So
I feel like at this point, anyone we didn't mention, we're mentioning so many actors that I didn't mention this.
Sorry if we forgot you. If you ever hear this, which
everyone was really great. They really were able to handle the balance between when things have to be emotional and real and when things are goofy and silly and full of references, and then of course when it's emotional and real, but make sure you're handling all these references
with care, and you did. So thank you guys for working so hard on this.
Thank you for working so hard on the scripts.
Thank you.
I really made it a unique product.
I certainly tried. So if any of you guys are interested in this, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray right now. I'll probably have some links to it on Bright Stuff or Amazon or something.
It's a short ride. It's funny. It's got a lot of references if you can catch them all.
It's
then
fun.
Kudos to you. It's pretty cheesy, but my only regret is that some people say names differently. And that's my only regret, but you probably won't notice it. So it's fine.
Yeah.
I know, right? But otherwise, like I'm really happy with how we were able to balance the cheese with the references, with the performing, with a great cast of really unique mix of people. We didn't talk about Cliff.
Oh my god, yeah, Cliff is teal.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cliff.
I directed him for that.
Yeah.
And I barely needed to do anything. He's like,
Yep.
he just is like, got it.
He does indeed.
Which was something that I really wanted to happen because I thought it'd be funny if he was your brother.
My Sonic pal.
Your Sonic pal.
Yeah,
and then to make it all the better is the person I had play the Walla bit who kills him is Adam Rowe.
Oh, that's really funny. I didn't know that.
And
they're friends.
They're friends. Adam was Greyveal in Gothic. If you
Oh, cool.
Gothic yet.
Cool.
And he plays Harris and the Walla Man who kills Cliff.
Walla Man.
I'm sure he probably had a name somewhere. He was some other fucking whatever game country he was
something
from.
that like killed Tails. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But that was a fun little jab in there. But yeah, so and Cliff did a great job.
Well, speaking of Cliff, and therefore speaking of Funimation and your guys' involvement with it, you guys have a whole lot of stuff that you're working on, and I think some stuff that you can plug, I hope?
Yeah.
Talk about your thing.
I'll go first, I guess. This season for simuldub stuff at Funimation, I'm playing a couple of small characters. One named Masaya in a show called Gamers, which is about a bunch of characters that play video games, and it's cute. There's a bunch of references to a ton of video games in the opening. That made me really happy about it. And then another show called Classroom of the Elite. I play Hideo. I'm convinced I got cast because he looks like Yosuke from Persona 4. And when I was younger, I cosplayed that character. But I haven't passed off via that. And then I'm working on, well, it was recently announced and recently released, the first season of New Game. I wrote the scripts for that. And I'm working on something right now and that I'm writing, and I'm not going to say the name because it hasn't been officially said, but it's not going to be a surprise when you find out I'm writing it.
And if you haven't checked out the New Game dub on Funimation, you can do that now. It's all streaming for the first season, and Matt wrote it. And speaking of Cliff was the director for it, along with Caitlin Glass. And I did a little bit of assistant directing on it, and it's a really awesome show with a really great cast, and it was really fun. So definitely check out New Game, especially if you like video games, considering you listen to us talk about World War Blue for hours.
Yeah.
Is that all?
That's all, yeah.
Oh, so additional stuff. I also did some assistant directing on Alice and Zoroku in the spring season with Cliff at Funimation. And voice-wise, last season I was Yonaga in Alice and Zoroku, and I played Leviathan in Seven Mortal Sins. And this season I am playing the leading fairy princess, beautiful magical angel girl, Leon Yelistratova in Hina Logic. And it's this adorably cute show. With magical girls and slice of life school stuff. So if that's your thing, please check it out.
Yes.
I also
opening
play.
To that show is so awesome.
Oh, it's got like one of the best openings of the season. It's so good. And then I also play Nene in Her Girlfriend is a Gal.
That show.
Yeah. That one's fun.
It's funny.
It's really funny. The dub's really funny.
I saw a clip of the dub recently, and I'm just like, oh, this is something else.
Yeah, Trosco's been having a really good time working on it, I think.
Give my compliments to him, please.
I will. And September 5th, the second part of Gothic comes out, which Matt and I both are in.
Yep.
And Regalia, the Three Sacred Stars, also comes out, which I play Sarah in. And she's one of the main characters, and she pilots a giant mecha robot, and she eats a lot of food.
You'll also be at Liberty City Anime Con in a couple of weeks.
We're going to be at Liberty City Anime Con. If you're in New York, please come say hi in Times Square, and we're going to have some prints for sale and some awesome panels. And it's also going to be Matt's birthday.
Oh my god, cool. What weekend is that?
Was it 18, 19, 20?
Yeah, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'll be teaching
of August.
an ADR class in New York City on the 17th, right before it, and we will be teaching it, and we're even gonna have some World War Blue clips that people can dub if they come.
Boy. Excellent.
So if you two want to be Sonic the Hedgehog,
sign up now.
Want to pretend to be a guy pretending to be Sonic the Hedgehog. Cool.
What about you, Chris? You got a cool announcement
I got lots of cool things. Yes. Well, by the time this is out, Casey, Mangelo, and I will have done our Super Mario World stream, where I'll probably have been regurgitating a lot of these things. But this upcoming weekend of the on Saturday the 12th, I'm going to be at Otacon's very first year in DC. I've been for many, many years in Baltimore, and I was sad I couldn't make it to its last year in Baltimore. Pardon me, but I will be there for its very first year in DC on behalf of the lovely folks at Viz Media, who are flying me out for the official Sailor Moon panel and the Sailor Moon autograph session. And also, I found out that I'll be getting there just in time on Friday night to be part of the 18-plus Voice Actors After Dark panel, which I'm sure is going to be...
I remember sitting in and watching one of those when I was in high school still.
They are a fucking hoot and a holler, let me tell you what. Hopefully I won't say anything too disgusting. Anyway, so I'll be on that. And otherwise, I hope that you are all watching OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, airing pretty much every weekday night on Cartoon Network. And check your local listings. I think they're at like 6:30 on weekday nights. And I'm in several episodes of those as several characters, so please check that show out. I love it dearly, so please do it for me. Do it for her. Do it for the good, helpful boy that is KO. That's it. That's it for me for now. More, hopefully, I keep saying this, but hopefully more updates about the Tome game very soon. I'm hoping we can launch the Kickstarter this month if all goes well. Fingers crossed. That's it. So, everybody, thanks very much. And
thank you.
If you check out World War Blue, tweet us your favorite references.
Yes. Yeah. I issue the goddamn challenge that you guys can find every single reference that I put in. I'm not even kidding. I challenge anybody out there who watches the show to please document every fucking reference of the show. I dare you. The first
person to do it, do they get a prize?
Sure, why not? Every single reference. I will be watching like a hawk. All right. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, we're gonna run towards the center of the blue world. Bye.